Hello there. As the economic situation teeters, state aid for the self-employed and small businesses should be at the front of the queue, not a nice-to-have add-on. Firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the jacksie by giving this video a big fat like. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check my YouTube channel daily. And a quick note that today marks 100 days until the 30th of June, which is the last day under current law on which a decision to extend the Brexit implementation period can be taken. Now, how many times have we heard over the years that it's the small traders that make this country, that it's the small businesses that employ the most people? But many of them feel left out by the measures put in place by the Chancellor Rishi Sunak to keep the economy going in these difficult times. The self-employed won't be getting 80% of their wages like the employed will. The Federation of Small Businesses says, "It cannot be right that an employee currently earning £25,000 a year could access £20,000 per annum through the new job retention scheme, while someone who's self-employed earning the same sum might only access around £5,000 worth of support." The self-employed are the people that through either choice or force of circumstance have decided to take charge of their own lives by taking a huge gamble on themselves and run their own small business. For them, the buck stops right where they're sitting. The harder they apply themselves, the better the rewards, and when they shirk the boss, they're shirking themselves. These people have risked a lot and are still expected to pay their taxes. And many of them are not high earners. They have to keep their noses to the grindstone to feed themselves and their families while keeping a roof over their heads. And there are an estimated 5 million of them in the UK. But due to the current economic situation, work is drying up for them, the work they actively seek and need. They have already started eating into any savings they may have had, savings for that holiday or for that car upgrade they will now never have. This affects those from window cleaners, hairdressers, cleaners and delivery drivers to freelance writers, photographers and theatre ushers. There are also business owners out there who face going to the wall personally themselves, even though their staff will get paid by the state. How sustainable is that? And writing in the Telegraph with 8 tips on how to deal with this, Kay Holland said, "We freelancers are jobless, hopefully temporarily, but for how long? Weeks? Months? Nobody knows. And in the meantime, many of us are applying for unemployment benefits, raiding our savings, and desperately searching for whatever work we can find. Casual workers and independent contractors can't get redundancy." But as former Conservative Cabinet Minister David Davis said, unless the self-employed were protected, the nation could suffer a near-fatal economic seizure. And talking to the Radio 4 Today programme, the TUC General Secretary Francis O'Grady said, "We have got members in industries from construction to the creative industries, and this will cause real hardship unless we get to grips with it." Now, one unforeseen outcome of this whole situation is that the big supermarkets like Tesco, Asda, Aldi and Lidl have said that they would hire thousands more staff after seeing hugely increased demand clearing their shelves. And the BBC reports that Tesco, the UK's biggest supermarket, wants to take on 20,000 temporary workers to help feed the nation, it said. The BBC also says that Aldi announced it was looking to fill 5,000 new temporary posts and to take on 4,000 permanent new workers for jobs in all its stores and distribution centres. And Lidl said it would create about 2,500 temporary jobs across its 800 stores in the UK. But how long that would all last once the shelves are restocked and demand steadies is one issue. And the second is that the numbers of these jobs looks quite small in the overall scheme of things. And while those big boys are hiring, small concerns are being ordered by the government to shut down. So much for the nation of shopkeepers. But the real crunch issue now is that it is the 22nd of the month, and in a week's time many of those backbone of the country workers will be unable to pay their mortgages, rents and bills. You only have to scroll through some social media posts to get the scale of the problem. Stories of people with a tenner in the bank and no income for the past few weeks. And I'll also point out that where employers are forced to use this government scheme to keep workers on, their employees will be taking a 20% pay cut. And if they earn more than £2,500 a month, they could be seriously out of pocket. How many can truly afford that for very long? And this in itself will have repercussions for self-employed cleaners and the like, as people phone up to cancel their weekly visits. The point is that the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, has roughly 7 days to save the self-employed and small business owners, or potentially face a complete breakdown of the British economy, or worse. Millions of self-employed businessmen and small business owners right now face having zero income at the end of the month, and they will be forced to live on £94 a week universal credit if they are eligible, and may also have to face a wait weeks long to be able to pull that money down into their bank accounts. These people are running out of money now, and hungry bellies do not make peaceful societies. Forget the credit crunch. Forget Black Monday. In fact, forget the Great Depression. The UK is facing something far worse, and I'm afraid there will be no way out of it other than to back the self-employed and small business owners in the same way as other workers. And the root reason for that is that capitalism is now on hold in the UK. Apart from a few nasty profiteers, that is. But for the vast majority of us, we're being told not to go out, not to consume, to take a pay cut and crucially slow the economy down. And big business either is or should be expected to do their part. The government is effectively telling millions of the most productive people in the country to down tools and go into financial hibernation, potentially for months, but without the wherewithal to feed and house themselves. Now forget the lines such as, "Who is going to pay for all of this?" because I'm not sure anyone ever can or will be willing to pay for this. And no political party will be able to turn to the electorate and tell them they have to. This is beyond ideological and party political. This is beyond anything most minds can conceptualise in terms of the free market and capitalism. The hideously colossal debt we are now racking up will either have to be permanently serviced at huge interest cost to the taxpayer, or paid down over decades at even greater cost to the taxpayer, all payable by our children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, or that debt needs to be cancelled out by defaulting on it. And here's a stark one for you. Just consider our future ability to deal with another problem like this one, the one that currently blights our lives, with that huge debt hole already in existence. But right now the UK government has a binary choice. Let millions whose taxes fund the public sector lose their businesses and let the self-employed face poverty and destitution as the society we have known turns into anarchy, or bail out the people and help the self-employed and help the small business owners who the government has forgotten despite making provision for their employees, but not the owners themselves whose profits have now disappeared. Communism, I hear you cry as you gnash your teeth, and this is left-wing Corbynistic policies at their worst. But as I've already pointed out, capitalism has been put on hold. Capitalism has been frozen by a Tory government. The government is actively freezing financial activity to get people to stay away from each other. This is not an environment in which capitalism can flourish, nor where we can reasonably berate people for starving in their homes for not working, something some capitalists see as a driving force to productivity. The measures that this Tory government is putting in place are designed to protect all of us and keep our health service from being trampled under. So it would be a bit unfair to expect the self-employed and small business owners to pick up the majority of the pain, wouldn't it? And if you disagree or don't care, then I'm not sure what it is that you want to see the country do about this, unless you're profiting from this yourself, of course. In times of need, the state has always had to intervene on varying scales in order to maintain social cohesion. This is just such a time. But in previous times, people were encouraged to move about, looking for their opportunities, and go to work to earn, and go to the shops to spend money and keep the whole show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, everything has changed. Do I generally like the idea of mass state intervention that is usually very much a left-wing policy? No, I most certainly do not. But if the Tories get this one wrong and don't level up the risk and the pain, then Mr Corbyn's successor in post will have a much, much easier time with rebuilding those northern red walls and taking occupation of number 10 at the next general election in May 2024, if not sooner. Think about that one for a moment. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.